Hi guys, this is chapter 4, 5, and 6 in Over the Moon. Chapter 4, Dust Blobs. With a scream of a whistle, our train emerges from deep into the woods into the platform of the train station in Coal Top. Men from the mines are gathered around small fires, drinking stale water from copper mugs, jabbering with one another about the day's events. Some are hunched over near the fire sleeping, too tired to even make it all the way home. "Watch it, Mally," Denver says, grabbing my arm and pulling me to the side as I step off the train. He points to an oozing tar-colored blob as it splatters the ground. A dust blob. Star patches used to settle in the treetops here, and now the dust gets so thick it sometimes sticks to the dew in the trees instead, globs up and warbles on the branches, like inky cocoons about to burst. Dust blobs can't hurt a person. Not physically, but having one of those things splattered on your shoulder will break your heart for days. You're left with a particular kind of sorrow you can't shake. The time one landed on me, I felt like I was breathing in sadness for weeks. "Thanks," I say. Denver takes my hand, and it's a perfect fit. A key inside a trusted lock. "I'll protect you," I think, "and I'll never let anyone hurt you." We walk together down the platform. The cool night wind swirls patterns through fallen leaves. And out of the corner of my eye, I see Adam help a girl off the train and walk the same path with her. I feel a funny zing somewhere inside my chest. The only shops we have left in Coal Top are closed for the day. Our stores aren't fancy like the ones in Windy Valley. Ours are ramshackle huts huddled against the tracks. They used to be a sight to behold. Star goods sparkled so bright people had to squint to see them properly. Star goods didn't last long, Mama told me once, but that was fine. The stars weren't greedy, and they always shared their light, and the weavers bent the light into tangible things people could hold and keep. Some could pay for star goods, some couldn't, and that was okay. We had plenty back then for everyone. Now there are only the Mines Company stores. Places to buy new shoes, hard hats, lanterns, coveralls, and, of course, baby dust flights. "Mally!" Granny Mab calls from the platform where she's sitting at her cart. Maybelle Fry is nobody's real grandmother, but everyone on the mountain calls her Granny. Actually, some people call her Granny Mad instead of Mab. They think she's an eccentric old sales lady, but I think she's a fine artist. Granny Mab pushes her rickety old cart through town selling all manners of trinkets. Broken lanterns, books and dolls, mirror rocks and faded quilts. Tonight she looks like a little witch setting up her display. Granny Mab wears a black dress that hits just above her knees, along with black and white striped socks, a black top that crowns her wavy white hair. "That hat's so folks will remember her," she says, as if anything about her is forgettable. She lets Denver sift through her wares as she speaks softly to me. "You need to hurry home tonight and keep your brother close to you. Tell your mama that the crows are on the mountain." "The crows? I don't understand." Granny Mab shakes her head. "She'll know what I mean. Hurry home and tell her, alrighty?" "Granny Mab, is that you?" A man staggered down the platform, calls out in a hoarse, frantic shout. He's straining to support a man much bigger than him. A crowd of folks gather around them as they move closer. "It was a dust blob that got him, dripped down from a tree before I could catch it." Granny Mab reaches gently and lifts the injured man's bowed head so she can look into his eyes. And that's when I see a tar-colored blob oozing from his right shoulder to the center of his chest. It's over his heart. Granny Mab moves fast. She grabs a brown bottle from her cart, squints at the liquid, swirling it inside, and then she shakes it up, pops the cap off with her teeth, and pours the contents into a chipped teacup. Mally, she says sharply, pulling my attention from the men on the walkway. Fetch the blue jar on the other side of the cart. I move before she finishes telling me. And when the jar is in her hand, she adds its contents into the cup too. A tiny swirl of purple smoke poofs from the cup and then vanishes. Clean 'em up, Granny Mab instructs. The man's friend takes his handkerchief and wipes what he can of the dust blob. The stain remains. Have 'em sip it slowly, Granny Mab continues, her voice gentle. Every breath. Between sips, tell him you'll sit with him, still, and let the sorrow pass. Most everyone has stopped to see the commotion, adults and children alike. I'm touched by the way the man's friends step close, rest their hands on his shoulder and his arms. I'm here, Will, they say softly. A stray dog snuggles into him. Mally? I startle and look up. It's Mama yelling for me. She's walking toward me, lantern lifted high, worry thick in her voice. Why, she knows that Denver's safe with me and I'm perfectly capable of walking home by myself. Granny Mab reaches Mama before I do, passes along the message that I was supposed to give, and Mama squares her shoulders and reaches for her brother. Come, a storm is blowing in, I think. Let's get home. When Mama and Papa were young and newly in love, they built us this home in the north woods of Coaltop. They only wanted a small place, just a perch hidden away from the world. Even as the sky grew dark, even as the dust-covered windy valley and the towns all the way up the mountain, they could see the stars. They were the last to lose their light. Now the skies were only dust, and the tall trees are full of dust blobs, and the only light we have comes from the fire always crackling in the hearth. But I think there's a light that comes from the way we love each other, too, because I know I feel warm as soon as I'm with my family. Papa is settled in a chair near the fireplace when we walk in, lantern light bright across his face. Hi, Papa Bear, I say, and I rest my small hand on top of his large, freckly one. His long fingers wrap around mine, holding it on tight. Papa's freckles are the reason I'm extra proud of the spray of freckles on my nose. Even when Honor Trumbull made fun of them at school, I remember my papa taking my face in his hands and saying, But Mally, a face without freckles is like a sky without stars. Oh, how I miss Papa's voice. His voice was the first thing to go, lost somewhere in the down below. My uncle said it happens pretty often to men. We say the voice fly right over Papa's mouth, like a wild bird loosened from a cage. And with Papa's voice gone, the rooms are empty of their songs and stories and the three best words in the world. I and love and you. That's what I will miss the most, not just the words themselves, but the way Papa said them. The mines took those words from me, and they've taken other things too. Papa lost his sight to an explosion. The guardians in the mines said it was his own fault. He was too careless with the machinery. But I know that's a lie. My father's a man who cares about everything. Papa's accident put us in a predicament. He doesn't speak, and he cannot see. And so he can't work in the mines, and his pay's withheld because the explosion was his fault. Women have never been allowed down below, so Mama can't go. Boys grow up and go into the mine. Girls make the city sparkle and shine. It's a stupid rule, but we've said it as long as I can remember. And anyway, Mama cares for Papa. So that leaves Denver, and Denver is not an option. And that leaves me. Snap, hiss, the fire pops. Ooh, Honeysuckle whistles softly, and Mama locks the door and glares out into the darkening woods, dark and strangely quiet. Papa lifts his face towards the sound of the bolt locking. Crows in the mountains, Mama says. Papa's strong, tattooed arms reach for Denver, who climbs in his lap. They hold each other like they're bracing for a storm. And that's when Honeysuckle lets loose. She sings out a shrill cry of alarm and makes every hair on my arm feel like a prickly pin. There are no avalanches here above. There are no explosions on land. But there are bad people. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of steel-toed boots kicking the door. My voice comes out rusty. Who is it, Mama? What do they want? Papa's already up, shoving my brother toward me. Mama rushes at us. Hide him, she says as she shoves us both toward the ladder to the loft beds. Honeysuckle's singing so loud I can't hear anything else, Mama says, and Denver stumbles toward to the loft ladder. I latch my good arm around him and boost him as high as I can. Open up, booms a man's voice from outside. Cain Ramble, open this door. I scramble behind my brother, my boots slipping on the ladder rungs. I've climbed to the loft all my life with one arm, but I've never had to do it this fast before. It's harder than I thought it'd be, and near the top I fling myself onto the loft, latch onto Denver, and we pull up the ladder. We scramble underneath the bed. The front door bangs open. Denver trembles in my arm as we hear heavy footfalls fill the room downstairs. I try to control my breath as I stare through the slats in the floor and see 3 tall men, all dressed in black. Their boots make every floorboard tremble. Plumes of dust rise up as they move. The guardians are here. Their black capes ripple as they walk into the room, and I remember Granny Mab's words. The crows are on the mountain. You have no right to barge in here like this, Mommy yells. Honeysuckle's still singing her angry tune, and I can't see Papa's face for here, but I know it's filled with fury, too. His voice might be gone, but he communicates with his eyes. If those men are brave enough to look him in the eye, they'll cower. I don't care how tough they act or how rich they are. Get out of my house, Mommy yells again. The man in front ignores her. The guardians always do this. They don't think women are worth listening to. Cain Ramble? I speak for him now, Mama says. He lost his voice in the down below, you know that. What business could you possibly have with my husband at this hour? It's not with him, said the voice. It's with your boy. Chapter 5. Crows in the Mountain. With my left arm, I clutch my brother hard against my chest. He doesn't cry. He doesn't whimper. He presses his head into the nook of my neck, and we're both sweaty with fear, trying not to breathe too hard, not too loudly. Oh, but I want to breathe hard. I want to breathe fire at those terrible men. Part of me wants to dare them to try to take him. I don't look strong, I know, but sometimes I can feel a wild strength rising up inside of me. Denver's not here, Mama says. Her voice doesn't waver. She's rehearsed this lie. He's with family in the valley. Won't be home till spring. That's so? The guardians ask, and I hear him moving around. You'll be in prison by then, Miss Ramble. In prison for massive debt. A nearly silent gasp lets loose from Denver's chest. Shh, I beg him, shh. We've got a month's worth of wages left, Mama says, and our girl's working too. It'll just be enough to get by. That's all we need. That's not how we see it, said the guardian, and he begins to list our debts, the medical expenses, our housing costs, the machinery my papa broke down below. I'm so angry I'm digging my fingernails into the wood floor, wishing it was that bad man's face. You'll pay your debts like everyone else, Miss Ramble. Your boy can use some of his wages if he works hard enough. If he doesn't, we'll take your house, your clothes, everything you own. The longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. This is outrageous, Mama yells. Papa shakes his head at her. No, don't make them madder, but I'm proud of her for finally yelling. Being gentle has gotten us nowhere. You send the boys too deep, Mama shouts again. You expect too much. Men and boys are losing their voices down there. They're losing their sight. They're dying down there. The man shoves Mama to the floor. Papa lunges at him, and I flinch when I hear Guardian's fist meet Papa's belly. I pull Denver close and shh, I beg him, don't make a sound. Tears stream down my face, down Denver's face. The Guardian's voice is so calm when he speaks. Turn over 4,000 feather worth in 1 week, or your boy will report to the mine. 4,000 feathers worth? Mama says with a laugh. We can't find that kind of money in 2 years, let alone 1 week. Then we'll take what we've owned in other ways. The door slams. Silence fills the room. Silence. And then the sound of Mama and Papa on the floor, crawling toward one another, sobbing softly. The star patch I caught earlier pulses, forgotten, in the floor beside me. Chapter 6. The Invitation. The next morning I'm awake before any other ramble, even Mama. I gave my heart some space to break last night, but now it's morning. It's a different day, and I don't have time to despair. I have to find a way to save my brother. Braiding my hair takes time. Braiding my hair takes time, even when I'm not in a frenzy, but I move fast. Dresses over my head, boots on my feet, my pop snaps attached. I run out the door on tiptoe so I won't wake anybody else. The air in the north woods is frigid and biting, stinging my face as I close the door behind me. Honeysuckle flies just before I hear the click. Don't worry, I tell the bird, my breath floating into the air as we run through the woods. I'll fix this. I can fix anything. I'll ask Mrs. Tumbrell for more work. Some families hire girls to live with them, you know, to take care of them all day and all night. I'll ask if I can do that. The thought of this, plus my lack of breakfast, makes my stomach churn. Or maybe she knows someone who might need me, who could pay me more. Doubtful. Miss Trumbull barely thinks you're capable of working for her. It's not Honeysuckle telling me this, of course. It's the logical side of my brain, but it's true. At the platform, Miss Marcia Bloom is setting up her morning pastry stand. Apple puffs, tiny round pies dusted with cinnamon. They're the most popular food here on Coal Top. I don't have money to spare for an apple puff, but the warm spell of them baking makes my stomach growl as loud as any monster on the mountain. The thought slams against me. Denver will be so hungry in the mines. I run through a zillion scenarios of how I can come up with 4,000 shiny feathers worth, fast, while Honeysuckle bobs along beside me. Maybe I could work for 2 families. Maybe I could sell stuff like Granny Mab. I can learn to bake special cakes like Miss Marcia. It's a shame I can't work in the mines instead of Denver. The conditions are miserable, but the pay is dependable at least. I'm tempted to close my eyes here and pretend I'm Mally, over the moon again, soaring up and away from my worries, flying back to a time before the dust. But there's no time for daydreaming now. Today, I have to plant my boots right here in this place and fix things. I love the stories about the mountain, the time before the dust settled in, the creatures who lived there, the kindness we shared, and the starlight in the trees. I wish we still had all of that, but I would settle for a world that didn't punish a man for getting hurt or being unable to work. It makes me think, it makes me want to punch something, punch a hole in the dust so we could have the stars back. The dust. I've wandered into a small cloud of it that people... Hold on, guys. Minnie, come on. Come on. I can hear you. Come here. You want to say hi? Come here. Come here. Say hi, everybody. This is Minnie, my doggie. All right, we're going to finish the chapter. Let's see, where did I leave off? The dust, I've wandered into a small cloud of it. The people have kicked up along the train platform. It's scratchy in my throat when I breathe it in, but I don't cover my nose or mouth. I keep on pacing. The longer I pace, the angrier I get. Honeysuckle chirps loudly, like an alarm in my ear, and I startle and step out of the dust. My temper simmers. Be gentle, Mally, I can hear Mama say, and another wave of nausea overwhelms me. I've never wanted to actually hurt anyone. I don't want to do it now either. I'm just tired of being gentle. I growl in frustration and kick a rock into the tracks. I mope to the side of the building, the side where I hide every day to catch my breath. I slink down to the ground and look up. Boards are crisscrossed above me, holding clusters of paper flowers that were put there. I'm guessing to make up for the fact that nothing much grows here anymore. Above the dusty petals I see grayish-brown sky, tinged with swirls of dull yellow, like a dandelion smashed in mud. It's as close as we get to sunrise. Angry tears drip down my face in a solid stream. Honeysuckle gently taps my cheek, where the teardrops settle. "Tickets for early riders, please," the station master yells. "Train's approaching." My breath catches. I shove my hand in my dress pocket, even though it'll come up empty. In all the frenzy yesterday, I didn't lay out my ticket this morning. I reach into Honor Trumbull's laundry to see if he's left one in his pants pocket, but my fingers trace over something else. Something shiny and blue. The flyer. The one all the boys are talking about. Honor must have picked up an extra one. I unfold the stupid, mysterious piece of paper he didn't want me to see, and I read it over quickly this time. Are you still brave enough to dream? Wanted. Brave and wiry young fellers, unafraid to ride and race and fly in the fear of certain death. Do you long for adventure, for riches untold, for a home in the valley? Come closer then, brave dreamer, great riches await. Interested party meet in the West Woods on the first morning of autumn, by this invitation only. Orphans preferred. None of this makes sense, of course, but my heart jolts over 2 words. Riches untold. That sounds very nice. Forget the fact that I'm not a feller or an orphan. Maybe sometimes all the praying and pacing and hoping convinces the universe to cut you some slack. Because this flyer in my hand, the strange invitation, it feels like a gift, like an option that could actually work. This is the first day of autumn. This is the change I've needed. Maybe the change that could make everything right. A new idea blooms out of my brain. It's a few hours till the second train comes, I whisper in a rush, just loud enough for Honeysuckle to hear. Here's the plan. I'll go into the woods. I'll see what all this hubbub is about, and if it's nothing, then I'll catch the late train and talk to Miss Trumbull. Easy. Honeysuckle does not look convinced that this plan will be easy. She's all fluffed up and quiet, glaring at me with her beady brown eyes. Maybe not easy, I admit, but doable. As far as I can see, the only thing stopping me has to do with the fact that I'm not a boy. That's the easiest problem I've solved this morning, I tell Honeysuckle. I thump Honor Trumbull's stupid laundry out on the ground, grab a pair of slacks and a shirt, and run into the woods to change. Pants buttoned, that takes forever. Shirt tucked, velvet blue jacket notched in place, and then I flip my head over and stuff my braid into this hat. This, for the record, is when it would be kind of nice to have 2 grippy hands. I keep the shirt sleeves long, so my pop snap might be less noticeable. Whatever this task is, I don't want the organizer to think I'm incapable, or worse, an inspiration. With fire in my bones and a mission in my mind, I wave to Honeysuckle. Let's move. And I'm off for the West Woods. Mally! I will go. That's Adam's voice. I go still. That's Adam's voice. And it's coming from behind me. I already heard the second whistle from the mines. That means all men and boys are below ground now, beginning their daily descent. Once the second whistle blows, it's too late to show up. You don't get paid for the day. I turn around slowly. Adam is standing still, watching me, holding his own blue flyer. You missed your whistle, I say, pretending everything else is normal, including the fact that I'm wearing Honor Trumbull's clothes. Adam looks shocked at me. His eyes are wide, his forehead scrunched up like he's got a zillion questions, or like he's just flat confused. What are you doing here? I'm going to the Westwood for riches untold, I say, holding up the flyer and stomping to where he stands. And I'm going to win them. I have to stand on my toes to be eye level with Adam now. When did he get so much taller than me? How could he look so different in such a short amount of time? His features are sharper now, too, and his eyes. I gasp. He smiles sadly at me. You've seen eye stains before, Freckles. Don't act so surprised. But you've only been down there a year. Eventually, all Miner's eyes turn coal black, so dark you can't see an iris separate from the halo of color. Just like Adam's, dark ink is already creeping over pale brown, blotting out the sparkle I used to see. I think about what Mama said about boys in the mines, how it grows them up too fast. It's a sad thing that boys in coal talk prowl underground in the prime of their life when they should be left alone to grow in the sun. He looks away from me, down at the blue flyer scrunched in my hand. Where'd you get that? Irrelevant, he groans. Please get on the train, whatever that flyer's referring to. It definitely isn't safe. I don't need safe, I need riches untold. I have a feeling that this, he holds up his own blue flyer, is going to be truly terrible dangerous. Plus, you're about to miss a day's work, Mally. That's a full feather's worth. I'm averaging 2 feathers worth a week due to my sunny disposition and my terrible employers, I tell him. Riches untold sound better. Mally, Adam. They came for him last night, for Denver. We hid him upstairs. They didn't take him, but they'll come back, and they'll search the house, and I'm out of ideas. I'm out of options. Adam's face softened as I tell the story. That's a lot of feathers worth, he said. More than I make in years. Maybe I can help, he says, this in a strong but thoughtful way, and I know he's already thinking of ideas. If this works out, I can bring some money to you. No, I say. We both have families to take care of, and I can do this. I hold up the flyer. I'm doing it, so there's no sense in trying to stop me from going. You're not a feller, he says triumphantly, dabbing his finger at a line on the page. You're not an orphan, I yell at him. All aboard, the conductor yells from the platform. Adam steadies his voice as he responds. They prefer orphans. You know what that means, right? It's dangerous enough that they don't want us to leave any family behind. The thought sends chills across my heart. I'm brave enough. I've never doubted that, he says. His mouth quirks into a grin, just like it used to. But I can't get past the change, inky black, elapsing, and the hopeful brown. Okay, he says, resigned. He knows I don't turn back once I fix my mind to something. We'll go together. As if he's the one giving me permission. Yes, we will, I say, folding the flyer into the pocket of Honor's pants. I'll lead the way. We walk in silence through the dusty forest, hesitating when we finally get to the border of the Westwoods. I'm waiting for Adam to tell me to turn back again, but he doesn't say a word. Long, thin brambles curl out over the boundary line, their thorns sparkling even without sunlight. The dust seems to billow extra thick above us, hurting us, it feels like, pushing us into the sinister trees. Dust blobs warble in the treetops, and gnarled limbed shadows stretch out across the forest floor. A sound from somewhere deep in the woods makes me jump backward. A rasping scream. It doesn't come from a person. It sounded like an animal. Predatory. I've heard that scream before, and I hoped I would never hear it again. I heard it the time I walked through the woods alone, home from first night of work in the valley. At first, I thought the footfalls were human, but I was wrong. I was being stalked. If I moved faster, it moved faster, until I was running from something, from a scream so close to me I could feel the warmth of its breath. It made the same sound. Exactly the same sound. Men in the mines say there are more monsters in the woods every day now, Adam says, especially the West Woods. His jaw was clenched, but I see a tremble in his hands. I'm trembling too. Are you afraid? It's possible, I confirm. But I'm going to pretend like I'm not. I'm going to pretend I'm Mally over the moon. He raises eyebrows. Who? Never mind. I'm just glad we're together. He nods. Me too. Side by side, we keep walking. Dust blobs dangle like dead leaves in the treetops on the west woods. It's hard to see in there. The tree canopy is thick, and the shadows stretch long and wide. These woods are darker than mine, but they're still just dusty woods. I remind myself. Adam and I are familiar with the forest. So why does this batch of trees feel different? For a time, we talk just to hear the sound of our voices, just so we can both pretend we aren't afraid. You know, I didn't mean to be so rude back there, he says as we step over tangled roots and fallen leaves. I don't want to be that way with anybody. I just don't want you to get hurt. I always pictured you getting a scholarship eventually, heading off to school in the valley, doing something amazing. You know that won't happen for me. Anything good can happen, Freckles. He's quiet again. Our boots sloshed through through a ditch thick with mud. We're almost walking side by side, occasionally reaching out to help each other. Careful, he says, guiding me around a pile of dull yellow dirt. That's timber powder. I've never heard of that. They use it down in the mines for medicine, to heal cuts and stuff. It works fine, I guess, but too much of it can make you feel weird. Are the mines pretty terrible? Yeah, he says as we walk. I always knew I would hate it down there. I had to go, though. Dad can't work down below anymore. He made it longer than most men do. I mean, I'm nearly 13 and I've only been in a mine a year. That's something to be grateful for. That's true. They like little kids if they can get 'em. He nods. We won't let them take Denver, Mally. We don't speak for a time, and this is fine with me. Silence feels as good as conversation when you're with a true friend. I think about all the times we'd walk quietly together, miles of sweet silence. Then one of us would burst into a run, just for the feel of it. But running or walking, we were always together, pace for pace, exactly the way best friends should be. I wonder if he misses those days as much as I do. Watch your step, he says, extending his hand so I can scoot past the briar bush. We came here together when we were kids once, remember? But we never made it past the boundary line. I smile. Yes, a bird flew at us, swooped down, and scared us half to death. Scared you? He clarifies. You ran just as fast and hard as I did. I'm not running this time. His voice has a sad kind of resignation to it. I'm just flying into the face of certain death. Well, good thing I'm here to save you if you need me. Don't flatter yourself, Freckles, he grins, and my heart warms. He grips my arm suddenly. Listen, he says, nodding his head in the direction to the side. There's someone else in the woods. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop for today, and I'll see you guys later. And Minnie says goodbye too.